I thought 100% was 100%. You don't need a PhD in political science and statistical training. Second grade math, first grade math would allow you to come. And now, even more interesting, it was at the exact same ratio for John Kerry. It's almost as if it was a preset ratio of votes and somebody pushed a button and extra votes came in. And then, of course, we owe a debt of gratitude to the people in Warren County who anticipated on Thursday, according to 2 employees, that there would be a Homeland Security alert possibly on Election Day. So they, without the FBI's notification, called their own Homeland Security alert throughout the media and diverted the ballots to an unauthorized warehouse under the control of what has been described as, quote, a Republican Party hack. There the ballots were secure, and lo and behold, when they reported early in the morning, Bush got an extra 14,000 votes. And in Butler County, 109,000 people voted for the president, just down on the ballot. The Republican Supreme Court justice got 68,000 votes. A retired municipal judge, black from Cleveland, who didn't campaign and was considered pro-gay rights and pro-civil rights, got 63,000 votes. And Kerry, with 1,000 volunteers and 3 headquarters, pulled up the rear at 54,000 votes. Now, Mr. Matoski, to this day, refuses to release in unblurred form his actual exit polling, because we'd really like to look at Butler County and Claremont County, where, gosh darn, the machines all shut down because of moisture in the punch card, and they use a central tabulator. Most other counties count them at the precinct level, but they like to centralize it on that ES&S, a partisan Republican company, which used to, was partly owned by Senator Chuck Hagel, who surprisingly got tremendous votes in the inner city and among Hispanic voters in Nebraska on machines that he owned. And also Wally Odell of Diebold, right? Wally Odell is a member of the president's Ranger and Pioneer team. He wrote the letter, signed it, CEO of Diebold. He wrote the letter saying that he pledged to deliver the Ohio electoral vote to Mr. Bush. He is such a partisan, he had his house, Coswold Manor, in Upper Arlington, perhaps the most elite place to live in Columbus. He had it rezoned so it could be wet on Sundays so he could have $1,000 a head Republican fundraiser. It is his technicians who are secretly counting the vote. His GEM software, General Election Management System, that is on half of the central tabulators throughout Ohio. And then Triad, which is owned by the same company that brought you the butterfly ballot. And they sell the butterfly ballot, for those who want to commemorate that great moment in democracy, on their website. So all of the counters in Ohio are partisan Republican corporations whose CEOs, executives, and officers are giving tremendous amounts of money to the Republican Party, and they refuse to disclose their software. I know what you're saying. God, that must be really complicated software like the Rover or something. After all, they're counting ballots, right? The average transaction at a supermarket is far more complex than counting ballots, and any computer scientist or programmer usually openly scoffs when I make this point. Jesus, man, you need some heavy software. I mean, you could count it with an abacus, for God's sake. You can get a big sheet and count it very quickly. It's not a complex computer task. So that's what was happening all over Ohio on Election Day. Also, we PDF screens where it looked like Kerry initially had a lot of votes that somehow accidentally were glitched or parked in third-party candidates, and then they later disappeared. So that is part of the process. And then in post-election period, we had the recount. And let me tell you about the recount. The recount is famous in part because a Triad technician, unannounced, unscheduled, but clearly patriotic, showed up in Hocking County before they could run the central tabulator and removed the hard drive. He also arrived, thankfully though, with a sheet of paper with the correct numbers on it and told Cheryl Eaton, the deputy director, if you leave this computer on, these numbers on this paper will match the ones on the computer. She filed, of course, an affidavit with Representative John Conyers. She, of course, was fired for not being a team worker. One of the great lies is that, well, they couldn't have stolen it. It's bipartisan in Ohio, right? Well, first of all, in the few cities that are bipartisan, like Cleveland, 2 Dems, 2 Republicans, guess who gets to break the tie? Secretary of State J. Kenneth Blackwell. Now, is that the definition of a bipartisan system? One that always ends with a tie and the co-chair of Bush Cheney breaks the tie? And in places like Hocking County, where we have what we call Dinos, Democrats in name only, the Democrats are often, usually one way to find out who's likely to be on the Board of Election, find the leading Republican donor in the county and look for his wife, who usually doesn't vote in the primary, hence she's not a Democrat or Republican, and she'll often get on the Board of Election. We just pointed it out when they tried to appoint such a person just within the last few months. So these Dinos, the Democratic Party Central Committee of Franklin County, taking Blackwell at his word, said, hey, it's bipartisan. We want these people to step down for firing Cheryl Eaton. The Democrats, then ran to J. Kenneth Blackwell, who said, here is the law. All people on the Board of Election are appointed by me and serve at my pleasure. You cannot, in the Democratic Party Central Committee of Hocking County, remove these people. They serve at the pleasure of the Secretary of State. Now officially, so if you ever get to watch Fox News, it's a bipartisan system that is totally, absolutely fair. Of course, it's just simply not true. So as part of it, the other thing that Ken Blackwell did, and I'll leave you with this point before taking some questions, is he interpreted the term random, much like he interpreted jurisdiction. So he decided that random meant non-random. Right? Random means, of course, those of you who have taken any sort of social science or statistics, that every precinct, there's supposed to be a 3% recount here, every precinct has an equal chance of inclusion. Blackwell decided that the boards of election could decide and hand select the recount. And not only that, some board of elections, like in Lucas County, could have Diebold come in. And no, this is good because one district didn't have a memory card and they just happened to have a new memory card that would help facilitate the recount. So in Lucas County, the Diebold technicians picked, according to sworn testimony under oath, the precincts to be recounted. And this is nothing surprising to me. In Fairfield County, we requested, when we said, we would like to have your voting result. And these people said, yeah, we're more than willing to comply with ORC, Ohio Revised Code 149.43, and give you the precinct election results. We just don't have them. But don't worry, we sent an email to Triad. And a few days later, Triad sent the email back to the Fairfield County Board of Elections, and they duly forwarded us the results precinct by precinct. So that becomes part of that process. That is, in the United States, our votes are overwhelmingly counted by partisan, private corporation with secret proprietary software that violates every fundamental rule of democracy and full transparency. It is absolutely unacceptable, and what is at stake here is far greater than whether Kerry or Bush won. It is the very essence of democracy for which we fought a civil war, and Lincoln said what was at stake then, that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish. That is what is at stake here. That's why I'm touring. That's why I put this book together. And that's why I hope you'll consider some of the evidence in it. Thank you.